Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are reading Canto 3, Chapter 11, text 29 to 42. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudire Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nestike. Text 29. When the night of the Brahma ensues, all three worlds are out of sight, and the sun and the moon are without glare, just as in the due course of ordinary night. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarsana, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow, and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus the waves of the sea becomes ferocious, and in no time and all the three worlds are full of water. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of the Janaloka planets offer unto the uh, Lord their glorious prayers with folded hands. Thus the process of exhaustion of the duration of life exists for every one of the living beings, including Lord Brahma. One's life ensures for only 100 years in terms of the times in the different planets. The 100 years of Brahma's life are divided into two parts, the first part and the second part. The first half of the duration of Brahma's life is already over, and the second half is now current. In the beginning of the first half of the Brahma's life, there was a millennium called Brahma Kalpa, where Lord Brahma appeared. The birth of the Vedas was simultaneously with Brahma's birth. The millennium which followed the first Brahma millennium is known as the Padmakalpa because is that millennium the universal lotus flower grew out of the navel reservoir of water of the personality of Godhead Hari. O descendant of Bharata, the first millennium in the second half of the life of Brahma is also known as the Varaha millennium because the personality of Godhead appeared in that millennium as the hog incarnation. The duration of the two parts of the Brahma's life, as above mentioned, is calculated to be equal to one nimisha, less than a second, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is unchanging and unlimited and is the causes of all causes of the universe. Eternal time is certainly the controller of different dimensions, from that of the atom up to the superdivision of the duration of Brahma's life, but nevertheless it is controlled by the Supreme. Time can control only those who are body conscious, even up to the Satyaloka or the other higher planets of the universe. This personal material world is expanded to a diameter of 4 billion miles as a combination of 8 material elements transfer into 16 further categories within and without as follows. The layers or the element covering the universe are each 10 times thicker than the one before, and all the universe clustered together appear like an atom in a huge combination. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is therefore said to be the original causes of all causes. Thus, the spiritual abode of Vishnu is eternal without a doubt, and it is also the abode of Mahavishnu, the origin of all manifestation. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading the translation. So, today, Aradhya Mataji, she'll be joining little late. So she has sent the recording. I'll just play the recording, devotees.
And Guru Maharaj. So today we read from chapter 11. Thank you, Mataji, for reading translations. It's about calculation of time from the atom. So in this chapter, Maitreya Muni answers
Are you able to
Vidura's
hear, right?
questions more elaborately. You remember from previous chapter, previous verses, what questions he had asked. And here we learn about time.
Himangi Mataji, are you
So
able to
first,
hear,
let's
right?
talk about features of time. How time is Krishna's energy, of course, and it is imperceptible, means it's impossible to perceive. It's impossible to see time. So we actually cannot see time. It is, of course, eternal, and time relates to destruction. As soon as we think of time, we know that it's going to end. And it meant to teach us how life is very temporary. In verses 28 to 32, it talks about Brahma's night. So basically, when Brahma's night starts, Sankarsana releases fire that covers the three worlds. Three worlds means out of the 14 planetary systems, the top planetary systems are not touched by this partial devastation. That is Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. Those four are not touched. Other 10 are annihilated. You can see the text 31 for the description. So in text 31, so first there is fire from the mouth of Sankarshan, and this fire is for 36,000 human years. I'm getting it from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. And there's torrents of rain comes along with winds after that. So that's for another 36,000 years. Srila Prabhupada writes, these reactions of 72,000 years are the beginning of the partial devastation of the three worlds. People forget all these devastations of the worlds and think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, or that which is not. In text 33 to 37, Brahma's lifespan is described further. So basically it says, even though Brahma has such a vast days, one day is 1,000 Chaturyugas. But still, his lifespan is limited to only 100 years. That means our 100 years are very small. Their 100 years are big, but still his life comes to an end. That's what we need to realize. Brahma is also Jiva Tattva. So that means 30 and 33rd purport is very nice. In this, Srila Prabhupada describes how we need to see the temporary nature of our lifetime. Whether we stay here in this planet or we become Brahma in one of the lifetimes, still life is temporary. So instead of wasting our life in sense gratification or worrying about something, that small things, we should focus our lifetime, valuable time, in performing what? Devotional service. That's the another lesson we can learn from this purport. And in this section, we learned that how Brahma's 100 years of life is split into two halves. Each half is called Parardha. It's in the purport. So the first Parardha, the 50 years is over. We are actually in the 7th Manvantara now. More than 50 years of Brahma's lifetime. So each day of Brahma is called Kalpa. First day when Brahma is born is called Brahmakalpa, which is called Shvetavaraha. The Shvetavaraha appearance of the Lord is the first birthday of Brahma. The birth date of Brahma is in the month of March according to Hindu astronomical calculation. And this statement is reproduced from the explanation of Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur. You can see that in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. The millennium following the Brahma Loka, which is the next day, is known as Padma Kalpa because the universal lotus grows in that millennium. The Padma Kalpa is also called Prithur Kalpa in certain Puranas. So the first millennium in the second half of the life of Brahma is also known as Varaha millennium, because it says that because the personality of Godhead appeared in that millennium is what? The hog incarnation. So our acharyas describe that Varaha appeared one time in the first Manvantara from the nostrils of who? Brahma. And another Manvantara, he appeared as a son of Diti. So you will see that those details will be described later in the third canto, later chapters. So in late verses, until now, Maitreya Muni described the vastness of Brahma's life. Now, he's putting into perspective also for us, right? Compared our lifetime, Brahma's lifetime is very vast, almost like an eternity. But when you compare Brahma's life with Lord Vishnu's time, it's nothing. It is described that the whole life of Brahma's life is like 1 billion trillion years. So that is 1 mimisa or 1 second for Lord Vishnu. Mimisa is described in one of the terms. Mimisa is the second. So this whole lifetime of Brahma is compared to eternity, is like a flash. So this is what we can learn from here, that develop our vision of eternity, and in that time what we see, small pain or big pain, now we think is nothing, and small pleasure that we want to go after is nothing if we can develop this vision. So everything is temporary, so don't be so go into anxiety or anything. Verses 40 and 41 talks about the nature of this universe. So this talks about 7 layers. That is 7 layers surrounding each universe, and each layer is 10 times thicker. This phenomenon material world is expanded to a diameter of 4 billion miles. So what is the diameter? It is 4 billion miles. So you can imagine how tiny this universe is. Srila Prabhupada explains that it's little atom within all these coverings. And we are in that universe, in that little earth planet of the millions of planets that's within the universe, and within the earth planet, we are just small place in North America in certain city, right? So we can imagine how insignificant we are in this whole universal description. Think about that. When you're in such a miserable situation, think about how tiny everything is. Just one example. One time, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he received a letter from his disciple, and after reading it, he was disgusted. Srila Prabhupada was disgusted. So he does all those glories, like, how we do in the beginning. Jai Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, all that, right? And we're like, please accept me at the lotus dust of your lotus feet. And he's talking about how insignificant he is in the beginning of the letter. And then in the next sentence, he said, Prabhupada, I have a big problem. So Prabhupada mentions that how we are so insignificant but our problems are so big. We are just so insignificant. So those are the verses. So what we learned from this chapter is, so in this chapter, since we're at the end of the purport, end of the chapter. So in this chapter, Maitreya Muni is kindly providing us a perspective about the difference between what we get in the spiritual world versus what we get in the material world. And there's like, in this chapter, it's very technical with minute details. We can learn several things from this chapter. One is that time is so vast and our lifetime is very small compared to the vast time. And even if we get a role of Lord Brahma, the time is vast, but still he needs to die. Still a temporary life in a material world. Second is how everything is in control of time, which is in the control of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Another thing, more importantly in this vastness of time of eternity of one life we have, is such a small thing. So that vision of eternity we develop as devotee, then we can see the small things in our life are insignificant. So we know that we get small pleasures, we get small pain, we get somebody says something, small things we worry about. We see that as insignificant if we have developed a vision of eternity. So those are the broad things that we learned. And then from this chapter we also learned that, I forgot to mention this actually, I wanted to say it in the middle of the purport, that we need to see the bigger picture of time and see the value of time as the same time. And then focus our life in devotional service. And time is controller of everything, and more than that, and the Supreme Lord is controller of everything. He is the cause of all causes. Everything comes from him. Everything rests in him. So by reading this, we can learn the value of time. And we can see the significance of eternal time. And insignificant pleasure and pain that we go after. And we can also develop humility in our position in where we are currently. And that's the essence of this chapter. I think if you have time, you should take a look at the entire chapter. It's very technical, but you should read it. And the purport for today is purport number 33rd. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Aradhya Mataji, for taking your time and doing the recording. Still, you are not able to attend the class. Thank you for beautiful session. And thank you to all the devotees for joining this session. Let's pay our obeisances to all the devotees. Svancha kalpatarupyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Granted Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Aradhya Mataji ki jai. Thank you to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji.